The Bethesda RPGs had its fair share of attention. You may have heard of a few of their games such as Fallout, Skyrim, or even Skyrim. Well, a little known secret is that the company used to make games before Skyrim. Games with arenas, Dagos, Winds, and Oblivions. Hey, that rhymed. Jokes aside, the last two Elder Scrolls games were Oblivion and Skyrim. Today I'll be taking a look at these two games, and this isn't gonna be a what did it better video, but rather a look into both games' intros. This is the first hour of Elder Scrolls. Let's start with the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. I mean Oblivion. The game starts with Patrick Stewart talking about the Dark Age arriving in this fantasy land. He gives us a brief peek of what Oblivion's like, juxtaposed with the peaceful land of Cyrodiil. Skyrim opens up in the player's point of view, on a cart with fellow prisoners. They tell you the reason why they're captured, and hint at the feud between the Stormbloods and the Imperials. In both games, you're imprisoned in some way. The first thing you do in Oblivion is make your character. There are many pumpkin heads to choose from, but Argonion's the only right choice. Oh god, the PS3 keyboard used to look like that? You have a moment to play around in the prison you're stuck in. Someone in the opposite cell comments on you based on your race.
It must break your heart, huh? Being so close to the water, knowing you'll never get to swim again.
Asshole. In the game with Dargans, you arrive to Helgen to be executed, despite being mistakenly captured. Both try to keep your backstory vague, for RP reasons. You make your character here, but instead of having pumpkin heads, everyone just has greasy hair. Once again, the only right choice is Argonian. And when you're done, you hear a small comment about your race from the guard.
Are you a relative of one of the Riften dockworkers, Argonian?
Not so racist. You get a bigger sense of what the Stormcloaks did and prepare to get your head chopped off. And that's when the dragon appears.
It's in the fire! What in Oblivion is that?
Speaking of Oblivion, the Emperor Uriel Septim arrives at your cell and you learn that he's seen your face before.
I've seen you.
This is some awkward eye contact.
Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams.
Your destiny ties in with his death, and you're given a chance to escape. You go through a secret passage in your cell and you see an assassination attempt on him. You go your separate ways and you prepare for your first fight. Back at Helgen, you're also given a chance to escape. You hear that dragons are just legends in this world, but legends don't burn down villages.
Legends don't burn down villages.
You perform some sweet acrobatics and make your way across town, with the only danger being the dragon. Once you're safe inside a giant stone fortress, you unshackle yourself and look for weapons. Depending on what side you choose in some arbitrary decision, you fight some dudes. Congratulations, now loot a dead corpse. Going back to the fourth Elder Scrolls, you fight some rats. In this little side path, you can find a few different types of weapons. The game will also teach you how to use magic and pick locks. Man, these lock-picking minigames are fun. But locks aside, you can really start playing how you'd like from here on out. God, these menus are so good. These menus are black and I love it. I love it. Skyrim, on the other hand, has a room to introduce each combat variant. It starts with melee combat, and then you get materials for spellcasting, and then you learn about ranged attacks. Yeah, that's the sound when I read a book. Oh, it's Fallout's lock-picking system.
Everything we can get.
But in both games, you could kind of just ignore the tutorials if you already know how you want to play. There are a few other differences in this tutorial cave, like Oblivion challenges you to sneak around a live target more, while in Skyrim, you have to sneak up to a sleeping bear.
Not the sneaking type,
Skyrim has lots of companions to fight alongside you, while Oblivion, you're mostly alone. Oblivion's cave areas are longer, while Skyrim has more tutorials in a secondary, optional cave. But the reason why this is done in Oblivion is that they want to adapt you to a playstyle early. Oblivion has a more traditional leveling system. When you get back with the Emperor, you start choosing things about your class. This first takes place as a birth sign, which gives you a specific ability. Then, the Emperor is assassinated and you have to choose your class. Wait, what's the correlation there?
From what I've seen of you, I'm guessing you're an experienced monk. Am I right?
Who you calling a monk? And these classes have the main abilities that level you up, while the others are just secondary. You can even make your own custom class, which is pretty cool. Skyrim's leveling system is more freeform, allowing you to change your playstyle at any time. And there's no assassinated emperors in the Skyrim opening. The rest of the tutorial area doesn't really have a story. In both games, you see a bright, shining light giving you the glimpse of freedom. In Oblivion, this is your last chance to change anything about your character, and this includes your birth sign, your class, and your race. In Skyrim, you don't have the option to change anything. If you want to redo your character, you gotta replay the whole opening, which means you see Eager Beaver again get his head chopped off. Look at that load menu, it's so good. When you go through the shining light, you're finally in the open world. You see those mountains? Todd Howard's there. And that's it. Okay, so maybe that wasn't an hour for each game. Oblivion might be going an hour, but Skyrim is definitely half the time. But from here on out, it could be anything you're doing. So, that was the intro of both games. They're pretty similar in a lot of ways, but the differences lie in how Skyrim kind of changed the gameplay. Oblivion was more about role-playing, and Skyrim tried to give you all the tools to have a variable character. Both games introduced the plot, but didn't make it necessary to move on. These intros would definitely change if you started in a Gate of Oblivion, or if you had the Dragonborn powers to begin with. It made the player curious to get these things, but you can do it in any order you want. Yeah, sounds like an open world game to me. All in all, there's some good unique differences between them. Whenever Bethesda makes Elder Scrolls 6, they just gotta look back at these games, pick out the good parts, and just make Morrowind 2.